You're on 94.9. It is 4:15, and it's Tuesday afternoon. That means Creation Ministries International. And this afternoon we have Dr. Don Batten on the line. Good afternoon, Dr. Don.
Good afternoon, Mick. How are you going?
Oh, awesome. It's great to have you back again. Of course, those of you who don't know, Dr. Don, he's another one of our super smart scientists that we interview with Creation Ministries. Bachelor of Science and Agriculture, first class honours, PhD, University of Sydney, all that sort of stuff. And Dr. Don, I only noticed today how many different little booklets and pamphlets and stuff that you've written.
Yeah, there's a few on different subjects, yeah.
Yes, of course. Now, I did notice one of them is kind of related to what I wanted to ask you about today. Because, of course, we talk about, anybody can send questions through to us. So if you have any questions for Dr. Don, please send them through to 0401 949 949. Of course, you can type questions into the Creation Ministries website and get a host of answers. But if you have a question, chances are somebody else does too. We'd love to hear your question, and Dr. Don can answer it on air. Now, I had a question. It was in regards to news that sort of came out last week. And there's a headline in space.com. It said, dark energy is still accelerating the expansion of the universe, and astronomers are relieved. Thankfully, we have averted the crisis, it says. And I thought, that's interesting. One, I didn't know what crisis they were talking about. But the expansion of the universe. Now, could you possibly explain that to us a little bit, Dr. Don?
Well, the standard story is that the universe is expanding, which is, not terribly controversial, although it's not necessarily the case. But not only just expanding, but expanding at an accelerating rate. So if the universe is expanding and it started out sort of, smaller, and things gave it a push at the beginning and things were moving apart, well, they just keep moving apart unless they hit something. So, expanding universe is not terribly difficult to understand, although I say it's not necessarily the case. But this idea that it's expanding at an accelerating rate, so it's not just, expanding at 100 kilometres a second or whatever, it's now expanding faster than it was 12 months ago, so it's accelerating its expansion. So what's causing that? Well, there must be some sort of thing pushing things, giving them energy to go faster. When you drive your car, you don't get any faster unless you put your foot in the accelerator and use more energy. So energy's got to be inserted in.
Yeah. Now, when you see a bomb go off or an explosion, it tends to, all the bits start flying really fast right at the start of the explosion, then they get slower and slower until they literally fall down. Now, all these guys talking about how everything started with a big bang, you'd imagine it would just start with a big bang and then it would slow down and almost stop. Or, it certainly wouldn't go faster.
Well, no, that's the problem. You've got to have this something there, to some energy source that actually pushes it to go faster, if that's the case. So, of course, in space where you've got virtually nothing there, things can be given a push and they'll just keep on going. Like, for example, if you're in a space station, for example, orbiting the Earth, and you've got zero gravity, you've got air in there, but if you give something a push in one end of the space station, it'll keep going until it hits the other end, basically, because it's only the air resistance which actually slows it down. But when you're actually in space, there's not much there to slow things down. So things could just keep going for a long time. But this isn't just things moving or expanding, but expanding at a faster rate. So this is this idea. So they invented this idea of dark energy. Dark energy is this source of energy that's pushing things to make them move apart faster. And this is what this story is about. So back in 2025, last year, less than a year ago, there was research published that suggested the expansion of the universe was slowing. So instead of it actually getting faster, it was actually slowing, which would mean that their hypothetical dark energy would be weakening.
Yep.
But that's what the crisis they're talking about, because that flew in the face of all the dogma that the universe is expanding at a faster rate. So the dark energy is supposed to represent about 70% of the matter and energy of the universe. So if you think about 100% being all the matter and energy in the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dark energy is supposed to be 70% of it. They haven't got a clue what it is.
Well, when did they discover it?
Oh, it's been around for a while, decades, probably 30, 40 years, but 30 years.
Okay, when I say discover it, did they actually find something, or is it more of it just a theory?
They haven't found any such thing as dark energy. All they've found is this evidence, they claim, is saying the universe is expanding at a faster rate. It's accelerating, and therefore there must be this source of energy to actually give things a push to make them accelerate. Putting your foot in the accelerator of the car. You've got to have a source of energy to do that. Otherwise, your car doesn't accelerate. So this mysterious dark energy, there's nothing in the lab. You can do experiments in the lab and try and find dark energy. You won't find anything. So this dark energy is supposed to permeate the universe, and yet you can't find it in a lab. There's no lab experiment that finds dark energy.
Where did the word dark come from? Why is it dark energy?
It's dark because you can't see it or detect it. It's dark because the only evidence for it is this interpretation. Well, where's the idea the universe is expanding at a faster rate comes from? It comes from observations of things called Type 1a supernovas. So a supernova is an exploded star.
Yep.
And astronomers discovered these particular supernovas that seem to have a standard energy output. So, and because they measured the energy output of these Type 1 supernovas, Type 1a supernovas, they can then say, well, if the energy is like a quarter of the one that they measured here, then it must be twice as far away, right? So they can calculate how far away it is. But the trouble is with all this business is that they're dimmer than they should be, according to the redshifts. So the redshipt's another way of measuring the distance, and the distance according to the redshift doesn't match up the distance according to the dimness of the Type 1 supernova, Type 1a supernova. So they therefore concluded that they're accelerating, they're moving away faster than just a standard speed, so it's accelerating. So then there came this idea of dark energy must be the source of the energy to push these things and make them go faster away than what they should be.
Yep.
And so it's called dark because it's like you can't see it, you can't detect it. It's like, and there's also the dark matter. Dark matter is another 26% of the universe. Dark matter also, they've got reasons for proposing there's such a thing as dark matter, some of which is, well, the main reason now is based on the Big Bang, but one of the reasons was the movement of the stars around that galaxy. So our Milky Way galaxy, for example, if you take the stars on the outer reaches of the galaxy are moving faster than the amount of gravity available to actually hold them there. Yeah. So then I said there must be this unseen matter that is actually holding these stars in place. Now, if you actually have a biblical time frame of 6,000 years for the creation of the universe, there's no problem with the stars still being there. It's only when you extrapolate to billions of years that you have to start to imagine there must be this dark matter holding things together. So that's an interesting aspect. So dark matter, again, you can't detect it in a lab. There's no... And why it's called dark is because it's unlike any matter. It doesn't actually interact with matter. So you can't actually have dark matter, a detector for dark matter. They've tried all sorts of experiments to find evidence, like physical evidence for dark matter, but nothing. They've got nothing. It's just, and it's all based on, you need dark matter to get star formation in the Big Bang.
Yep.
So, and the other thing about the galaxy is also it's been calculated, if you take into account all the different stars in the galaxy, there actually is enough gravitational attraction there to hold the stars in place without dark matter anyway. So that reason for dark matter has disappeared, basically. So the only thing left is the Big Bang needs dark matter to get star formation.
Wow.
So you got 96% of the universe is actually the dark stuff that nobody can detect.
Right. Well, that's pretty cool. It's like, most of everything we know is undetectable, and no one really knows if it's even there. Yep. Makes no sense.
The funny thing is, Stephen Chu was a Nobel laureate, and he's a cosmologist, and he was speaking at the Australian Institute of Physics National Congress at Australian National University in 2005 to a gathering of high school children, and he said that we understand nearly all there is to know about the universe except a few small details like what is dark energy and what is dark matter, which make up 96% of the stuff of the universe. And he says we understand nearly everything nearly all there is to know, except for 96% of what the universe is supposed to be, according to their story.
Yes, wow, that makes almost no sense at all. Wow. Well, look, we're going to go into a little break right now. A bit of music by John Reddick and a couple of messages. And then when we come back, I'd like to ask what Creation Ministries' theory is as to why things seem to be speeding up. You are on 94.9. It is 27 minutes past 4. You're on 94.9. It's 22 minutes to 5 when we have Dr. Don Batten on the line from Creation Ministries International. If you have any questions for Dr. Don, please send them through to our text line 0401 949 949. Now, Dr. Don, we've been talking about a news item that came out, was in space.com just in the last week, and I actually saw it in a bunch of other publications. It's sort of, when some of these things hit the media, they go strong for a bit. They were talking about, dark energy still accelerating the expansion of the universe. They can see stars moving apart. What does Creation Ministries believe is causing those stars to move apart?
Well, there's a question, actually, are they moving apart? I mean, what they do is they interpret the redshifts as being due to them moving apart or the universe expanding. And so redshifts, when the idea is that as a star's moving away from it, the light frequency coming from the star is sort of stretched out, and so it's a longer wavelength. And so redshift means shifted towards the red end of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. And that's interpreted as meaning those stars are moving away from us. So that's the it's an interpretation, though. It's not actually a fact.
Right.
And so there are cosmologists who doubt their story that the universe is expanding. There's a couple of papers on creation.com, actually. Is there definitive evidence for an expanding universe? Mm-hmm. And there's actually a couple of papers about that. And there are other explanations, even amongst standard non-Christian cosmologists, mainstream types,
yep.
Who are saying now there's other explanations. In fact, there's evidence that the redshifts are not due to them moving away from us at all. So you look at things. The Bible says in many places, at quite a number of places, God stretched out the heavens, or words to that effect. God stretched out the heavens, and in the process of creation, obviously, if the matter was created in a certain place, and then the stars and galaxies were spread out, there's a spreading effect. Now, it's possible if the universe is expanding that spreading out of the stars and galaxies by God in the beginning actually gave the momentum to things, which means that the universe is still expanding, but it's not necessarily the case. It could be either. There's no reason from the Bible why the universe can't be expanding. Why it could be static. It could be either. So the evidence is it's not open and shut that the universe is expanding, and certainly not that it's accelerating its expansion, which is where this dark energy idea comes from. 70% of the universe.
Yep. Wow. I mean, it's
interesting that in Genesis, when it says God created the stars, it doesn't make a big deal of it, actually. It just talks about him creating greater light and the lesser light, and day 4 of creation week. The greater light being the sun and the lesser light being the moon. And then it says, and the stars also, like sort of like an afterthought. Oh, you've got to create all stars as well, you know. And today we look out with the telescopes and the James Webb Space Telescope and Hubble and all this to see there's enormous numbers of stars and galaxies. It's just absolutely mind-boggling.
Yep.
And we look at that and say, isn't it a bit of overkill for God to do all that? I mean, it's sort of like way beyond. But and you read the Bible, it says in Psalm 19, verse 1, the heavens declare the glory of God, the sky above proclaims his handiwork.
Yeah.
And you think, wow, you think of all the energy in those stars and galaxies, and God created it. He spoke it into existence, and you think, wow, how amazing is the Creator? That's what we should think.
It's interesting that was written so long ago, before they had telescopes that could look at some of the amazing colours and patterns that we've seen a lot more recently with some of the massive telescopes that we have now. And the further we look, the more we look, the more we realise just how awesome it is.
How amazing, absolutely. Yeah, it's just incredible. And I think, well, God did that, and how amazing is God that he created the universe. Yeah.
We see these James Webb telescopes, and I mean, they're about to, I think, push Hubble a little bit higher. So much money is spent on these telescopes, sending telescopes into outer space to look for faraway worlds. At the end of the day, does it really matter what they find out there?
Well, I think it matters. That's why they're spending so much money. But taxpayers' money at that, a lot of it. But of course, what motivates it is they're trying to grapple with how the universe came to be by natural processes without God. That's what drives a lot of it. So they're desperately trying to find evidence to, for example, the Big Bang. That's the only really accepted version of how the universe came into being by itself. But they have all these fudge factors like dark energy and dark matter, and there's a lot of other dark things too, the dark photons. And
okay, so they just add the word dark when they really have no proof of anything that's there.
When they really have no idea what they're talking about, but they need these dark things to prop up the Big Bang.
Okay.
But one of the reasons for Hubble and more recently the James Webb Space Telescope was to actually probe, as they think they're looking back at right near the Big Bang. And so the James Webb Space Telescope's looking right back about as close as you can get to the Big Bang, and so they're expecting to see certain things that match up with their idea of the Big Bang creating the universe, and what they're finding is actually causing them to scratch their heads.
Right, so they're not getting the proof they wanted.
They're not seeing what they expected to see at all. And one cosmologist even suggested the universe could be twice as old as what they think it is. So it was 13.8 billion years, supposedly. Now he wants to make it twice as old as that because the James Webb Space Telescope's finding stuff that doesn't match that age.
Because they can see further and further away. Wow, they might even double it again with the next telescope they put up.
Well, it just needs more time, you see, to actually see these mature galaxies, because they're seeing galaxies right, way back as far as they can see, which are far more developed than what they possibly can be, assuming the Big Bang happened when they think it did. So they some of them want to make the universe even older.
Wow!
They're trying to cope with the observations they're making. So they're just. Every day it's like we're amazed to see this, we didn't expect to see that.
So they're continually changing their theories to try and fit some sort of pattern to show that things, started billions of years ago, yet there's nothing really to disprove everything that's been written in the Bible about how the stars were created.
No, well, cosmology, which is, how the universe came to be, isn't science. It's really philosophy.
Mm.
You can't do experiments on the universe. We only have one universe. You can't sort of poke it and make it do something. In a laboratory, you can you can do an experiment and sort of poke something to see what happens, but you can't poke the universe and see what happens. You can't have it done. We don't have 20 universes to do experiments on and see which one, and take the average or something like that. So it's not experiment. It's not science like, in a laboratory. It can't. It's a lot of ideas, and they make predictions and things, but in the end, they don't really know. They really don't know.
Wow.
And some of them admit that. I mean, in that article you mentioned about inspace.com, there was an admission there that they really don't know what they don't know.
Yes. Too often, though, it's written as though it's absolute. Yeah. Well, look, we've come to the end.
Taught in school as if that's what happened,
Yep. Unfortunately, they teach it, but again, they still don't really know. Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Don Batten. Another awesome week. Looking forward to our next talk. And, if any questions come through, I'll send them through for you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you, Dr. Don, for catching up with us today.
Thanks, Mick. All the best to everybody.